I've learned over my years working in luxury real estate, being DJing, growing up in a certain part of Sydney, is that, you could grow and add all these add-ons to life, you know what I mean? But when that gets all stripped away, you sit naked and you have a cry of life going, why doesn't anyone love me? And why is it happening? You're like, no, but the basic fundamentals of life are these core couple of things only. And if you fill your cup every day with those couple of things only, you actually live your best life.
Hi everyone, welcome to TBD with Jill Rose. Today we are going down under. Do you get tired of that?
Not really. I love it.
See, this is why she's so cool. We are going down under with Mary Lin.
Hello everybody. Hi.
So Mary and I have known each other for 5 years.
Yeah, I think it's about 5.
So in about 5 years now.
We don't count COVID as, do we?
I've lost so much time because of COVID.
I know.
I mean, I'm literally, when people are like, oh, how long ago was that? I'm like, I don't remember.
I know. I sort of feel like what happened those 2 years. We don't know.
It's a blur.
Yeah,
and we're going to talk about that. So I swore I was not going to talk about COVID with anybody, but your situation was so crazy.
Yeah, we had a good time down there.
Yeah. So we met a few years ago through the real estate company, brokerage that I worked for. And you know how sometimes you meet someone and you're instantly like, I like her.
She's a vibe.
I met Mary and I'm like, I have to know this woman. She is so amazing. So
thank you.
You're adult. I just love
so
you.
like you. It's amazing.
We're going to have like some girl love going on.
Yes, absolutely.
So talk to me about, because I said I wasn't going to do it.
Yes.
So let's talk about COVID for a minute.
Yes.
Because people complain about being locked down.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't locked down compared to what you guys went through, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I actually quite enjoyed it. And I think what a lot of people do know, we got locked down. We weren't as bad as Melbourne. So I'm from Sydney, Australia. And so we were locked down for, I think, oh my goodness, I don't even remember. Let's just say 4 months because it felt very long. But we were allowed to go for walks. We didn't have curfews. We weren't allowed to have friends over. But what was really good, what they did was like a singles bubble. So you could find one person. So if you had a boyfriend or you're in a partner and you didn't live together, you could be in that bubble. So you could travel home. Yes, you weren't alone. So it was just lovely because a lot of people live in Sydney, maybe they only have a boyfriend, they don't have family or anything. So it's just nice. And you could choose one person in that bubble. So you only could travel to their house and back and that was it, right? So, and then they extended it to a 5-kilometer radius. So you could only go.
You felt so free.
Yeah, I was like 5 kilometers. It was amazing.
Which is what? 10-ish?
Oh, goodness.
Wait, a 5K is 3 miles. So 3 miles.
Yeah. So, and then if you ever got stopped by the police, you have to be in the 5K kind of situation. So I know it was actually, but I was one time that I loved it. Sydney's such a rat race. Like it is so busy. Our job is so intense being in real estate. So it was actually a beautiful time where you could actually just sit down, not get up in the morning, put makeup on and put a suit on, and talk to clients all day, every day. Yeah. You could wear your sweats. Yeah. And just be. It was beautiful. And I loved it. I loved it so much because, I think once I left university, it was one of those moments. You got to get your career done. Like, you got to get there and you got to reach for the stars. Like, so it was so hard, always just every day. It was a hustle every day, right? And so it was a moment you're forced to relax. And you built really good friendships. Yeah. I learned new skills as cooking. I love to cook.
Interesting. Hated
cooking. Just did not enjoy it one bit. And mom always got worried. She's like, oh no, Mary, your husband and kids are going to starve one day, And so there was this line that went around the family saying that, there will be they'll be starved in my household because I didn't know how to cook. I burnt rice. So basically.
Oh, you legit didn't know.
No, like at all. But I grew up in a family that I was always around food. So I think I learnt skills along the way. But if me physically go and cook, I'm like, nah, I might as well get takeout. So I actually learned how to cook, which was amazing. So now I cook like a lot and I love it. I love it so much. And I think it made you really recalibrate life because cooking, it calms your nerves a little because you got to think about, the ingredients and chopping. And it was actually really interesting because I had, going back, I had bad anxiety. And so I saw a therapist and she actually said to me, instead of prescribing me, like any medication, she actually said to me, do you like to cook? And I said to her, I hate cooking. She goes, I want you to do every week a task. I want you to make a new recipe every day, like every week. And I said to her, why? Because I absolutely hate cooking. It doesn't give me more anxiety. She goes, no, because if you're cutting up all the vegetables and reading the recipe, going to the shops and buying it, she goes, I want you to start from scratch. Like, you have to go to the shops, choose the ingredients and everything. That takes you away from your anxiety because you're like actually thinking about something.
You're focused on its house.
Yeah. And so I was like, so there'll be like 2 or 3 hours gone and you'll forget about it. So it was actually really interesting.
And it helped.
Absolutely.
That's incredible.
So I talked to like a lot of my friends, are like, anxiety is such a big topic now, right? Social media, mental health is such a big thing. So before anyone goes to anywhere, I said, do you like to cook? And they're like, no. I said, pick it up. Like, it is actually helped me a lot. And so whenever I feel anxious, I pick up the recipe book and I go shopping and I make a dish.
I hate cooking too.
Yeah.
But with all this elimination diet I've started cooking again.
Oh, no way.
And now that you're saying that, I've really enjoyed it.
Yes.
Like, even I'll have a recipe and I'm like, I wonder if I could put this in there, if I could put that in there.
Yeah, you get really creative.
And I feel like the creative part of my brain. Well, who knew that? So you don't need therapy. You
just
need to cook.
You just gotta cook.
Done. That's our takeaway.
But yeah, so that's how our COVID went down. And then it's sort of opening up a bit more. But then what I hated was when everything opened up, everyone went 10 times faster than what we used to be because everyone was trying to make up for lost time. And I think that just screwed everybody up again. You know what I mean? And so we did so well calming ourselves down. Now we're just ramped up in a whole different level, but like not the same level, but like a whole different spectrum because it's just everyone is like on a different mindset.
Well, and I think in real estate specifically, now most of us in the States did very well. Especially
yes, absolutely.
Because everybody and their dog.
We did as well. Yeah.
And so I feel like we still were really, really busy during COVID.
Correct, yeah.
And so while everybody else had slowed down, and we did slow, obviously, to some extent, as everybody slowed down, we were still go, 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 go.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then, like you said, the world opened up and everybody went faster and we never got to calm down.
It's true, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of burnout in real estate.
A lot of burnout, yeah.
A lot of burnout.
And it's hard because a lot of people had a rest and then now you sort of play catch up because now everyone else is moving around.
Right.
You can't actually slow down, so you're just going faster than you're actually going the same pace as everybody else now, right? But it was a good time in real estate.
Yeah. It was a great time.
It was a great time. I think it was
401ks for it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's like in Sydney, everyone's like, wow, everybody made a lot of money during that period of time. And I think it was actually nice. The good thing was like we had restrictions with inspections and everything like that. So it did bring it down a level. We weren't rushed off our feet. We didn't have to wear a suit. We didn't have to. So it was nice to have social distancing. Go and look at the house by yourself. I don't have to follow you and talk to you and convince you to buy the house. Yeah. Look at this lampshade. It's amazing. So I think it's
or a video of the lampshade.
Yes.
That's how we were selling.
Absolutely.
It's through videos.
And you couldn't go for too long because you didn't want to lose their attention. So you couldn't show them lampshades, right? But like now I was like, this is amazing. But then when everybody came back on board, you're sort of like, can I just have a seat and just have a moment to myself? But then the world opened up and then here we are again, So
it's pretty insane. So everything's still good in Australia.
We're all good. Yeah.
So in Australia, for those of you who don't know, Australia has a very interesting way of doing business. They actually, see how I say it there? Yeah, I knew the word that was.
Yeah.
They actually do auctions for most of their products. So kind of explain that.
So the auction process is we love, we're used to it, right? So we love it. And basically, you put a house in the market. It's normally a 4 to 5 week campaign. So you do 4 weeks of like marketing, and the 5th week is the auction.
Right.
So you have an auctioneer. You give a price guide. So you don't have it for sale at. You give a price guide, and it's like buying art, jewelry at an auction house. Exactly the same concept. You always probably, we hope for it to go over from competition. So basically the whole mentality behind it is to build competition, right? And so what market value is.
Well, because people like to compete for things.
Absolutely.
I love that.
And it's nice because you really find the true market value because the previous bid guarantees your next bid.
Right.
Right. So you know that if someone bids this much, you're like, well, well, they think it's worth that much. Well, I think it's worth this much. And like, well, if they think it's, so it just goes up, right? And so sometimes our auctions go 2 million above reserve, you know, or 1 million above reserve. Yeah.
Wow.
And it's one of those things, it's always, as you would understand, you get to price the property right for auction. And, you know, buying art and buying jewelry is always a bit below the reserve, right? And so, and you guide people's interests, and then you just lead people towards the auction date.
Right.
But what makes a really good agent is, and a lot of agents get scared of auctions because it's unknown. You can't control the situation. You basically go, all right, this is the price guide, I'll see you on the day. And you don't know who's going to show up, right? And so, and you don't even know if they're going to perform on the day. They're like, yeah, I've got the contract, I want all this, and blah, 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 these are the changes. But then you actually don't know if they're actually going to perform on the day to put the paddle up and be like, this is the price I want to bid. So I think what makes a really good agent is actually determining your buyer pool and see who, you know, you pick up cues from each buyer, and who's emotionally attached, who's not. And you pick up all this and you sort of write a list and go, and you sit down with your owners and you're like, well, this is like the pattern that I've picked up from all these buyers. We think maybe, you know, this could be a goer, this could be this, and this could be this. But then when you work with your buyers, you become really, like you build a very good relationship during that auction period because it's so fast paced. We like to take it all the way to auction. A lot of agents get scared of auctions because it's so uncertain. But we love taking it all the way to auction because you just never know what's going to happen.
I just think it would be so much fun to sit there.
It's a lot of fun.
Even as a seller, I mean, obviously you're scared to death, right?
Yes.
Except that there are reserves in place. Like you're never going, right?
I think like what the seller, the scary bit is you actually don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
So you put a price at what you want. It's adjustable on the floor. But then you never know who actually, you could go no bids.
Yeah.
You could have so many people with contracts and reviewing of contracts, but then no one bids on the day. So it's very...
If no one bids, your worst case is you just go on market.
Absolutely. But then I think it's that whole, you know what it is? It's one of those feelings where you get so excited for a holiday, right? And you get to the airport, you're like, did I remember everything? Is everything going to be okay? Like, are we going to get there? Are we not? So it's that feeling.
Yeah.
And so when things go wrong and you get stuck at an airport and you lost your luggage, you're like, what are we going to do next? But there's always a plan B.
Exactly.
But you just really, at that moment, you have a meltdown.
Going through that stressor.
Absolutely, yeah.
Plan A.
And so this is like 6 weeks of stress. Like, let's say from preparation to marketing stuff. Yeah, so we do 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay.
You if you're going to do like a 2-bedroom apartment or something, you probably do like 3 to 4 weeks, depending where it is located. But you're looking at like, 4 to 5 weeks.
And that doesn't even include like the prepping of the home itself, right?
So that's another 6 7 weeks, yeah.
So basically you're looking at a good 2 to 3 months from start to finish with any property. Well, that's not even start to finish because once you go to auction, how quickly do you close?
Close depends. It's case by case.
So what's typical though?
42 days.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Because in Europe it's extended.
Yes. But it's really depending on the house. So let's say some if it's vacant, some people can close earlier, so they will do 2 weeks settlement. It depends. It really is case by case.
Right.
But then on the auction floor, you know, you've got to be a real confident agent to be able to work the room.
Yeah. And
I think what makes it really fun is you know, before you go to auction, you find one of the buyers and you're like, please make the first bid. I don't care what it's going to be. Can you be the one to start it off? Because everyone just sits there with paddles and just like stares at the auctioneer, you know what I mean? And that's this awkward silence. It happens every time. And I love it because I watch this awkwardness happen in the room and you're just like, somebody just puts your hand up. Yeah. And then I feel sorry for the auctioneer because he's like, we're here to sell the property. Who'd like to start the bidding? And it's just like silence for like 10 seconds and you're like, and no one moves. And everyone's just like looks at each other. And so you have, as an agent, you're sort of going to push it. Yeah.
First paddle comes up.
Correct.
I imagine it's like, damn.
Well, it depends.
Okay.
So it depends.
On the property.
Yeah. And it depends on the market as well.
Right.
So let's say for now, our market's, you know, in the whole world, everyone's market's a bit, you know, touch and go. Right. You won't have that bang, 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 bang.
Okay.
So it's really much depending on the mood of the market at that moment. So if it's bang, 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 that means the market's great.
So what's the most you guys have ever gone over?
Oh, a lot. So we sold a property sold like 10 years ago. Oh, no, not even 10. How long ago? Let's say about 7 or let's say about 8 years ago, about 14 mil.
Okay.
And we quote it to people because the owners didn't live in Sydney. They never touched the property. So basically it was as is.
Right.
We took it to auction and sold for 24 mil.
Starting at 14?
Yeah, because we just said, look, this is what it last sold. We didn't know. Like, wait, I said, this is what it last sold. It needs a lot of work. It had a big leak issue. Like, they didn't touch it for 40, like let's say 8 years. You know, they didn't even live there. They never walked into the place. The owner bought it, was supposed to come over, but he passed away. So it just got left there, right? So, and we sold it at auction at 24 mil.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
That is
was
absolutely
auction.
incredible. And so do you guys have an MLS system, like a Zillow, as it were, of places that the public can go and find things?
Yes. So
That's
we've got a domain.com.au and we've got realestate.com.au. So they go on par with each other. And depending on which areas in Sydney,
Right.
one site works better than the other, but you typically go on both sides.
Yeah.
Because you want to canvas the whole market.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough real estate.
Yes, that's
I
enough
really
real
was
estate.
not going to talk real estate.
I
with
know,
you,
but
it's
you know
just-
what? Auctions.
I know, and it's
Yeah.
interesting because we don't really do that in the States.
No.
So no, it's a very cut and dry.
You know what? Every time I go to these global conferences, we're in Vegas right now, right?
Right.
Yes.
We are in Vegas. We still have our stamps from last
Yes.
time.
We're having
We
a
sold
great
Diplo last
Yes.
night.
Yeah.
I didn't drink, just for the record.
Yes. But that was and I'm actually alive. This is great. But it was everyone asked me about this auction process. You know, and it's just like the big I know.
But I think it would be fascinating. I was actually likening it to, pricing a house a little low to get multiple
Yeah,
offers.
absolutely.
It's really the same concept,
Yeah.
except that we don't necessarily market for 3 weeks that we're doing this with the purpose of getting multiple offers.
Yes.
We just market it. So, but stop. Okay,
Yes.
stop. No more real estate.
Yes. No
No more real
more.
estate.
How boring is real estate?
That's all we ever talk about.
I know. I was like, oh. But, I do love it. I do love my job. So it's sort of like integrated. I was actually telling someone on the plane. That's how I met someone on the plane. And 15 hours to LA, or like, let's say, depending, 30 to 15 hours. And he makes bricks. So his company makes bricks. It was really fascinating. We're talking about the building industry and stuff like that. And we were talking about how, we could talk about real estate all day because it's so fascinating. And it's become like a lifestyle. Yeah. It's like making bricks become his lifestyle. You know what I mean? So
No,
I was like, it's actually really, I love it.
I really try not to talk.
I know. But
Well, no, just in general, because like my husband, he would get so tired, like, okay, can we talk about anything else? So when I started working in Europe, then it was like,
there's so much.
there was so much going on. There's still so much going on that it was all I talked about. Okay, so we're going to talk about something because you said
Something more
last
interesting.
night.
Oh, God, what did I say?
I didn't know you were born in Taiwan.
Yes.
You're like, I was born in Taiwan. I'm like, wait, what? I thought you were just Australian.
No, yeah. So I was born in Taiwan. I came to Australia. Well, I'm basically Australian when I was 6 months.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're
So-
basically Australian.
I'm basically Australian. But my both parents are both Taiwanese, and Dad migrated to Brazil when he was 6 years old with his family. So,
That's a huge
Yeah. yeah. So it was actually really interesting. We're very multicultural in our home. My sisters were both born, one was born in Venezuela, and the other one was born in Brazil, and I was born in Taiwan.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we've got a really nice mixed bag at home. And the hardest thing was saying to somebody is like having this pop culture, because I can speak Taiwanese, which is a dialect, and then I can speak Mandarin, and then English, and then let's hope I can speak English.
You're doing pretty well.
Oh, some people like beg to differ, don't worry. There's random lines I come out with, and they're like, oh, that doesn't sound right.
That's speaking Australian.
Yeah,
That's differently.
Yeah, maybe. Speaking my own language. I think I have a Mary language. Everyone's like, sits and just looks at me like, did you? They're like, no, at all. And then I speak Portuguese as well.
Oh.
So,
That would make sense with your dad.
yeah. And so growing up, going to school was pretty hard because in my household, we spoke all 4 languages in one sentence.
Oh.
So then when I'll go to school, I didn't know the difference between what was what. So I just thought that was language, like I was speaking. So half of the people couldn't understand what I was saying because I'll say like, one thing in one language and the rest would be in English or whatever. So I struggled. It wasn't easy. And I think because 4 languages very active in the house, it wasn't just one language and the touch on the other. It was 4 languages very active in the house. And so for me, I struggled many years during my childhood to sometimes be in high school where, when you learn so many different languages, their sentence formation is different and the way they express themselves. So it was a bit of a struggle, but now I'm so proud of speaking so many languages.
The thing too is that it's typical for like Diletta today.
Yeah.
She speaks, French and Italian and actually German, which threw me off.
Yeah.
But she lived in Germany for a bit. They're so different. English and Portuguese are completely different.
Yeah.
Right? Because English is Germanic and obviously Portuguese is Latin. But then you go into Mandarin, which is in
Taiwanese,
completely different.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how difficult that must have been as a child to reconciliate all of that.
And it was really interesting because I didn't know anything different. Right. So for me, it was one language in my head. Until I got older and I didn't speak Portuguese and my sisters would talk about me in Portuguese or they would talk about stuff in Portuguese. Then I realized there was a disparity. Like, I'm like, why don't I understand them? So then I started realizing that they would speak another language that I didn't understand, but I knew certain words. And then I would understand Taiwanese because mum and dad spoke Taiwanese and then a bit of Mandarin. So as I grew older, I got more annoyed because it started to get even further, right? And so then I learned speaking Portuguese and reading Portuguese through singing.
Oh, interesting.
We went to church, and so we went to a Portuguese speaking church, and so I learned speaking Portuguese and reading Portuguese through singing.
That's actually weird.
It's actually really weird.
Wait, so you sing?
I sing, yeah, as well. And I played the flute professionally, and I also played piano and all that, but I get it.
Well, this is explaining a lot.
Yes.
So I'm not getting to that
yet.
Yes. So one of the other things that you talked about today at breakfast, we had we needed coffee.
Yes, absolutely.
Just late night. You mentioned I asked.
Yes.
If there's any Aussies listening, please don't judge me. I said, do the Australians have this complex about being a colony of convicts?
Oh, God.
And it was beautiful how she explained it. And so tell everyone basically what you told me, like what the culture is like.
Yeah, and I think my whole understanding, and I could be quite ignorant about this as well because I'm a migrant to Australia, is that we learnt about the convicts and the history of Australia in school, right? It's never been brought up in everyday day-to-day, conversation. I think what's more prominent for us is the Indigenous First Nation people, and I think that's very much more integrated. The convicts are very much part of our history. So I learned it in school, so it's never brought up in day-to-day conversation. But as let's say when I got into high school, and even when I was in year 6, so let's say high school, like 13, Australia became such a melting pot of cultures, and especially Sydney. Sydney is such a cosmopolitan city that, my high school had 57 cultures.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I didn't know anything better, because that was what I was exposed to. So, and you always found your niche, your culture that you would sit with, but everybody would come together. And what was beautiful about my high school was that we had Multicultural Day. And so there was dedicate one day where everybody had a concert. So there was a concert, and depending who wanted to sign up, you do your national dance or whatever you wanted. So you watch the whole, let's say, 2 hours of different nationalities doing their cultural dance. And then we'll have a cultural fair where you could go eat everybody's food, and then you come in your national costume or whatever you want to wear. It could be the flag or whatever. And so it was this multicultural day, and that's why I realized how multicultural Australia was, because it was so integrated into our school system, that when you left school, you like accepted everyone because it was just such a beautiful day, and I loved Multicultural Day because you ate all these foods you never existed in your own life. Like, you know, you go home, you eat your own food, but you go to school, and you're like, oh my God, there's so many different types of food. And so I think that's Sydney, multicultural.
I love that. It makes me want to go to Sydney even more.
Hello, I don't even know why you haven't made it yet.
She's the reason I want to go to Sydney. Let's be clear.
It's so embarrassing. You're like, I've been asking you. I know. Imagine us.
I know. You're here in the States, so I get it. But no, I don't know that much about Australia. It's interesting. I feel like everything I know is like that Chris Hemsworth is there.
Yes.
From there. Jackman and
the Russell Crowes
and
Isla Fishers and Nelly
Beaches and blondes and like I have this very stereotypical idea of Australia, and it's funny because every time I talk to you I realize how so misguided I am in thinking about.
But you're not, and I think there is that part where you go to Sydney, it is the beaches, it's the beach life, and it's that really cool kind of laid back kind of vibe, and you're not wrong. Sydney is very much a mix, and in my opinion, I don't know if everyone else agrees with me, it's a mix between LA and New York. You know, you've got the city buzz, but you also got the LA chilled beaches, restaurants. You know, you've got everything. So it's like a palette for all. Although our nightlife is, you know, dead, but that's okay. We're at that age, we do not go out.
No,
not at all. What are you talking about? And so I think it's one of those situations where there's something for all in Sydney. And but then you go to Melbourne, it's a whole different vibe. And you go to Brisbane, which is what you think Sydney is. It's probably more Brisbane and Gold Coast, right? So that's very beachy and it's really tropical weather. And then you go to Perth, it's a whole different vibe. So everywhere in Australia is a whole different feeling. But Sydney's such a melting pot of cultures. Like you literally walk in there and you could have any cuisine or festival.
Which is incredible. But it's funny because you say that it's a melting pot of culture, but then if you want to see cultural as in the arts or what have you, that's Melbourne.
Yeah, so Melbourne likes to take that kind of hat, go, oh, we're the cultural city. Mm-hmm. But I have to admit, they do have a lot of good shows down there. They host all the big events like the F1s and the Australian Open and everything their city's set up for that. And they don't have really good beaches like Sydney does.
Right.
But they've got great restaurants, a good arts and culture, and entertainment kind of situation that kind of, that city's made for that. You know, you walk down the street and there'll be like graffiti or murals of arts. Yeah, like artists actually paint on the walls, and like you don't see that in Sydney. You know, so that's the difference. Okay. Yeah. So it's different. It's very, very different.
It's worth seeing both.
Absolutely. Love both cities.
And how far apart are they?
They're an hour and a half.
That's it.
By flight, yeah.
So if you were to go to like every major city, let's say I'm going to Australia to visit.
Yeah.
I fly into Sydney.
Yeah.
I would go then to Melbourne.
100%.
And then where else should I absolutely go?
You could go, well, it depends on what tourists want to do. You could go to the Great Barrier Reef. You make your way out that way.
You know, I really forgot about that.
Yes. This is one of the seven wonders of the world.
I mean, yeah.
And then you've got like, you know, Uluru with the Ayers Rock in the middle if you want to go see like desert Australia, which is beautiful. Like it's red sand, you know, like it's things like that. Yeah. It's incredible. It's the like aesthetics, the nature itself. It's beautiful. You could go to the Gold Coast, which is an hour and a half up as well. You go to Byron Bay, where Chris Hemsworth is.
Yes.
Everybody knows Byron Bay. We just actually opened an office up there, so it's great. Yeah. Regular trips up there for me.
Well, when you see Chris, tell him I said hello.
Yes, absolutely. I'm like, you can take a photo. And then there's also Gold Coast, Brisbane, and you make your way up north. So, you know, we've got the whole, you know, East Coast covered, you know, offices in our office. But like, so you can definitely travel to the East Coast and then you go up around.
Yeah. Do excursions.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about Australia, it's so funny. I am doing this video with you, this interview with you, so completely backwards than everybody else's. I blame the lack of sleep.
No worries. I feel like I work for Tourism Australia, but that's okay.
You really should. Okay. So she was laughing at me at breakfast because I'm like, okay, so do you guys have spider storms? But I mean, like legit. Talk to me about the spiders.
I just love this. Everyone tells me about the spiders.
Talk to me about the spiders.
What would you like to know?
I mean, are there really storms of spiders?
Well, let me just ask my spider friends. Let's just call a friend. I wouldn't say, like, I don't know what you would call spider storms, but, like, in the city, we get spiders in the house.
Well, I mean, we get those too, but like we've seen these videos where it looks like a dust storm coming through and it's spiders.
Well, I live in the city and by the beach, and I don't see that. But you know what? In some areas, you do get all types of things. So you just don't know which part,
So they're not fake. I mean, they're really are.
But I don't think it's like a storm. It's not like, Planet of the Apes that come in like, we are coming to dominate you, like.
I'm going to take you.
Yeah, it's
with
not.
the snakes. And the snakes are like hanging out in the trees.
Yeah,
right?
they're just raiding. They're like, just give us a signal and we'll come right back
we'll
at
let them know.
Yeah.
And what's the kangaroos?
The kangaroos, yes.
So,
yeah.
I'm telling you about kangaroos. I'm actually really fascinated by them.
They're beautiful animals.
Right? Are they
Beautiful.
aggressive?
Well, I think any animals, if you're a threat to the natural habitat, like if somebody came into your house, like you would be aggressive.
I think I would.
So I look at this and I said, look, honestly, they're wild. We're in their home. Like any animal's going to be aggressive. If you don't go up to them and like poke them.
Right.
But you keep away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if they're in like a tamed park and they've been around people, no, of course, absolutely not. But if you're in the wild, you don't touch any animal in the wild, So
it's a good rule for life.
Yeah, it's literally
touch wild animals.
Do not touch them. Like I feel sorry for them because they'd be like, "Who is this person in my house? Like, get out!"
My husband and I had this conversation about the raccoons that get into our garbage. And I said, "Baby, we live on a ravine.
Yeah,
so we basically invaded their territory.
Absolutely.
We can't be mad they're now taking our trash.
I'm just like, well, that's the thing, right? Like, I feel sorry for these animals because they're like, you're in my house, and you're like doing things in my house. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And I sort of like understand why people are like, oh, I got attacked by this animal. I'm like, but you're in the wild. Yeah. Like, just don't touch them.
But I feel so stupid asking you these questions.
No, not at all.
But are they like hopping around Sydney? Ever?
No, not. So you're in a city.
So they never get into the city?
Never.
Or rarely get into the city?
Ever.
Okay.
It's like, do you see animals in New York City? No, probably not.
Yeah, well, that's true. But what about koalas? Because we've seen the videos of the koalas crossing the highway and everybody stops to let the koala
Yeah, but
cross.
that's not city.
Okay.
The city of Sydney is like basically CBD where the beaches and everything, where everybody lives, right? And then you drive an hour and a half out and you get a bit bushland.
Okay.
And you get koalas, you get kangaroos, you get wallabies, which is like a smaller version of the kangaroos.
Yeah.
And you get snakes, you get everything. But that's in the farms.
Yeah. Which would be no different than going out to what we call the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. To have your,
Well, we sell country properties, and you get all types of animals that come and visit you.
But see, I would love to see that.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I mean, I would just love to sit on this beautiful property overlooking the ocean and have koalas and kangaroos.
So towards so if you go waterway by the ocean, you don't get kangaroos. So you're going the other way. So you go like inland more. Okay. You'll get kangaroos. Koalas you don't normally see. There's certain places in koalas that you would see, but you normally don't see them.
Really?
At all. Like I've never seen a koala in the wild.
Really?
Never.
Okay.
Well,
For some reason, I just thought they were everywhere.
No, they're actually very rare to see. Interesting. Very, very rare.
That's why people stop when they're crossing the highway then.
100%. Yeah. And it's like sloths, in Brazil. Yeah. So it's the same thing. You hardly see them. Kangaroos you see because they hop around and they have families.
Right.
And so let's say we were selling a farm, a country home, like a beautiful country home, and they would have a family of kangaroos that lived at the bottom of the paddock. And so they'll go feed it every day. Or they'll leave food on the side. You don't go near them because when they have joeys, like the babies, it's like every mother.
Every mother.
Yeah.
Don't touch my baby.
Yeah, don't even come near you. So it's the same thing. So sometimes they will set up shop. Right. And then you have like a family duck cell come live on your pond, or like a family of this. And so, all types of animals in the country. But in the city of Sydney, literally nothing. You get the odd spider, the cockroach, and the random rat that we see.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rats are normal.
Oh, rats are normal. Yes. Oh, God.
Okay, so now that we've done our little bit of tourism for Australia.
Yes. Please sponsor me, Tourism Australia.
So the reason I wanted to interview Mary, other than the fact that I just love her, is that she dropped in one of our conversations. She's like, I DJ. And I'm like, what do you like on the radio? Like you're a DJ? And she's like, no, I like go to clubs and DJ.
Well, I don't do clubs, actually. No, at all.
You did for a minute, though, didn't you?
No, I did it just very much once to practice.
Okay, because I was like, I remember seeing you
Yeah,
somewhere.
So it was actually just once, and it was like, it wasn't even in a club. It was actually a friend's bar. And it was my first gig outside, like, my bedroom.
Right.
And it was literally...
for your mom and your friends, like Jeremiah said last night.
That was so mean. I was holding my tongue. I was like, Mary, do not be sarcastic right now. Do not be mean. Just hold it together.
Yeah. So one of our friends last night, when she said she was a DJ, he was like, so do you perform for like your mom? Or, and we really don't think he was being mean.
It came out like this.
So bad.
But he was so serious. That was the funny bit because I was like, oh, no, I don't actually. And you're like, did you just say that? And I was like, oh my God, yeah, he said that. Yeah, no. And stupid me was actually going to answer him the right way. I go, no, I actually don't. No, so I actually have a friend that owns a very small bar in Sydney, in the city. And he actually said to me, I said, hey, like, can I just like play a Friday night? And he's like, play Friday night because everyone gets really drunk there. It's like a university kind of like a booth bars. No one's listening to you.
Right.
I was like, oh, perfect.
Thanks.
So it was good that I did it because it was just my first time. And I think I did it twice there to actually just get my confidence up. Because like outside of your bedroom to random people, like it's a whole different kettle of fish, right? So that's what I did. And then everything else, I do corporate luxury events. So
did you start doing it? Because when you said you played instruments, it makes sense now. So is it because you've always just had this musical interest?
Yeah, so funny, being typical Asian parents and us being typical Asian kids, like you always have to learn the piano. And you had to learn an instrument. So we all play the piano. I have two sisters. My elder sister became a professional pianist, so she's very much took that path. I love music, hate practicing. So I always played as a hobby. I hated going to lessons and, doing exams for the flute and everything. I just hated it so much that I said, this is just so like, it's just torture. I would cry. Mom's like, go and play the piano. And I was like, I just don't want to. And I hated it, but I was really good at it. Like, I just really loved music. And then when I actually got older, I had this fascination for DJs. Like, I just loved DJs. And I just loved the fact, and it wasn't because some of them were really good looking. No, it wasn't that. I was like, yes. No, it was a bonus. But I love the fact that everyone relied on them for a good night. Right? And so I looked at it like as a whole, like staying at the back and just looking as a whole. And I'm like, who is this person? Like, what do you have to be in order, firstly, everyone relies on you to make their night good. Everyone looks at you. It's like, you're always staring at the DJ, right? Then you control everyone's moods up and down throughout the whole night. So you can take someone to the ultimate, high on EDM music, and you can take someone to the deepest of lows in, a ballad about a breakup in a period of like a minute.
Which we saw last night.
Yeah.
We were talking about
correct
all of this last night.
Exactly. And I said, then I realized that they had the power to maintain a mood where they wanted the crowd to go. So I was like, this is fascinating. So it's like, it's not just music. It's like a whole psychology behind a crowd of people. Yeah. So I was like, I'm going to try this out. So during start of COVID, 2020, I was just like, I became an agent. So I stepped out and became my own person as an agent. And I really wanted to reinvent something for myself. I always did something for others. And I said, I want to do something for me. And I think in life is really important. And what I figured out through my very short years of life, that it's actually really important to do something for yourself.
Absolutely.
And it's not like, I just want to go and, get a facial for myself. I'm like, it's not that kind of for yourself. It's not quality time for yourself. It's actually doing something for yourself from scratch. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, I do everything for everybody. I went to university for myself, also for my parents. I did this to get somewhere in my career. And there was always saying something for someone else. I want to do something for me. Something that I enjoy. And I wanted to see where my capabilities were for. Like, how could I be so tenacious that I could start something from scratch and get to somewhere far beyond than I thought I could end up, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I did it. I did it for me, for my own personal growth. I wasn't doing it for anything else. I wanted a hobby. I wanted to talk about something besides real estate, besides fashion, besides anything else.
Right.
I wanted something that I could talk with conviction from myself and be like, no, I did it from scratch. Like,
And you had a passion for it.
yeah, exactly. And
It's a passion project.
absolutely. And I think everyone should have a passion project and start from scratch. Like, start from nothing. I didn't even know what was what. Like, I had no clue. I just had musical talent. I just had musical, like, you call it musicality.
Mhm.
I just knew music.
Yeah.
So, and I don't really know the technical side of music, like as in, you know, what works with what.
I hate the practice.
I hate the practice. I love the music and I just get it. So then I found a teacher and I did 2 lessons, and you buy a package of 4. And I said, in a package of 4, I'm going out and playing. I did a package of 2, never finished the other 2.
Really?
Here I am.
Was
So
it because you didn't enjoy, again, the practice of it?
yeah, you know what? And I thought I got it together from 2 lessons. I got the fundamentals of what I needed. And then I said, oh, everyone's on YouTube. Might as well jump on YouTube. But you know what I actually listened? I actually listened to all the different DJs when they did the Tomorrowland, the Ultra Music Festival, and watched they play their set. And I actually, not them, I studied their music, like order and how they
Like
did
the
it all.
composition of it, how they put everything
Absolutely. And how they control the crowd
Right.
through that thing. And so I actually watched that many videos of DJs at music festivals, at nightclubs and stuff, just to see how they did the music composition. And that was it. It wasn't about controlling the crowd, because I think that's up to you, right?
Yeah.
But I wanted to know the music composition because that was the most important thing. So anyway, I got my first, I paid it with my friend, and I was like, oh, this is not that scary. I was so nervous. No one could talk to me. And everyone talks to the DJ, right? And someone would be like, hi, oh my God, you're the DJ. And I was like, sorry, I was shaking, I was sweating. I didn't know what to do with myself. I packed the whole house, you know, like.
But you nailed it, didn't you?
Well, I don't know. I literally couldn't. I mean, they called me back again, so I must have done
That's a pretty good indication.
done something
You did a
right.
good job, yeah.
And then I started recording SoundCloud links and everything. And then now I play corporate luxury events because I said, you know, it's really hard. I don't want to be a nightclub player. I don't ever, because I don't, you know, I'm not that type of person. I don't want to play bars. I just thought this is just a hobby for me to do because I enjoy music. So I actually do corporate luxury events. So all my friends are in like companies like, you know, the McLarens and all that kind of, you know, luxury brands. And so they just call me up and be like, oh my God, I got an event in 2 weeks. Can you please just deal with it? Like, take the music, be the DJ for the day, send me your price, and that's it. Just because I've been to so many events and it's the same clientele.
Right.
So I know what they want. I couch surf all day. I tell people I couch surf all day. I don't go to work. I just sit on people's couches all day, right? So they're like, really? I was like, no, I do. But literally, I'm couch surfing.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on a couch every hour.
Right.
So I'm in their home. I'm in their vulnerable space. And I said, I know what they want when they go out. I know what they like. So
Really interesting point of view. I would not have thought about that. You're right, because you are in the most intimate space for people.
Yeah.
So you do get a sense of their vibe.
I get what they want.
Oh, that's
So
incredible.
then when my friends like, oh, Mary, we've got this event coming up. Like, let's say, for example, I play at a McLaren track day.
Yeah.
I've never played trackside. You know, it is all owners track day. I said, who's coming? I already knew half the guest list
That's incredible.
because they're all my clients, right? And I've been in their houses. I know their friends of friends. I know what they do in their personal life. I know what their hobbies are. I just did a playlist. I played trackside and everyone was like, love. Like, one of the instructors, he's like, I actually was really worried. I'm like, how is this girl going to nail playing for a bunch of men, McLaren, like, enthusiasts,
Right.
on the track side where cars are going 200 kilometers an hour, zooming, you know what I mean? And how is she going to do this, you know? And he's like, you nailed it. I was like, because I sit in the houses all day, you know? So all these events, I just nail it. And my friends don't give me briefs. They literally don't. I just say, who's the guest list? What are you launching? I'm like, done. I got it.
So how often are you doing shows then? Realistically, how often?
Oh, not that much, to be honest. Like, well, look, depending on how many events, and I haven't really gone out there and be like, hey, everybody, I'm a DJ. And there's like my close friends knows, and that's already given me enough jobs, like in terms of like the events, because I all work in all these different companies. And I think it's actually lovely because I'm not like this commercial, like, hey guys, look at me, I'm a DJ, I'm actually doing this hobby. So like, if you also want, bang, I've got this thing on the side that I do. But you don't have to worry about it because I already know what you want.
You're a bespoke.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we're going to bespoke.
I am a very bespoke DJ. So I don't even have a business card. I don't even have like a profile. And I got asked for a profile the other day. I'm like, can you just get that person to call me? I'll just talk to her. Like, I don't know. So actually, don't worry. I've got a business card now and I've done my profile. I'll send it to you.
And you're on Soundcloud.
Yeah. So then everyone's like, can you get on Spotify? And I was like, yeah, well, we'll get there. Like, I do want to go that far, but like, sure. But I think it was actually really interesting because what I do is, and this going back to, you know, doing something for yourself, and I think this is really important, that I grew so much in my own self and in confidence. As a woman, as an adult, as a career-driven woman, and also you give a sense of purpose for yourself, and he grounds you a little because you've done something for yourself. And I think that's really important, being also a woman, to do something for yourself, because you give out so much all the time that when you don't know, you have to fill your cup back again, you know, because you always give out, you know, you left nothing at the end of the day. So I always say to people, pick up a hobby, and it doesn't have to make you money, it doesn't have to do anything, but you fill in your cup every day.
Well, and it's like the podcast. I mean, even you're like, what are you trying to do with this? And I said, it's creative projects because I love people.
Yes, we all know.
Who knows that about me? I also have some of the most fascinating friends all over the world. But it was a creative thing. It's like, I know nothing about video. I know a little bit about photography. I don't understand the Spotify and the lighting, and you're laughing about this setup.
Yeah, no, I was like, wow, you're so professional.
I have a really good setup. But I also have my friend Fernando, who, she shoots TV shows, and he met me and said, okay, get this and get this and get that. And it was fun. Yeah. And this is fun. Yeah. And honestly, this is what we do. We just sit around and talk.
But this is what I'm saying. It's so lovely.
It fills me back up. But here's my question for you. Yeah. I've already gotten this. Is real estate so bad that you're trying to pick up a side gig? I'm like, no, I'm just doing this for fun. Yeah. Do you ever have people think that? Or
look, I think people do ask me that, and I think it's such a common question. And they're like, oh, are you even still in real estate, or are you in this DJ thing? I said, yeah, 100%. Like, this is just my hobby. Like, I said, and they're like, oh my God, you're so cool. I said, in one day, I said, let me put it in perspective. I wake up in the morning, let's say 6:30. I do my meditation, do whatever I need to do. I get to work. I bump in for an event, let's say 6. Corporate events only go for maximum 3 hours, right? So like 2 to 3 hours.
And they're not 2 a.m. rangers.
No, but you're saying, like, you go, let's say for a Louis Vuitton bag collection launch. Like, I just paid my friends Christian Louboutin Neo collection line in store 6:30 to 8:30. Right. I'm packed by 9, in bed by 10:30 for work the next day. So I'm like, in a day, I've done everything to fill my cup. Yeah. So I'm like, why wouldn't you do that?
It sounds like what an incredible life. Like, and I love, obviously, you're not to the point where you're, having kids that you're running around chasing. Which is
that's a different story. Yes.
But not really. Yeah. Because I have kids. Yeah. And I still find the time to do this because it's interesting as moms. Yeah. There's a lot of us who feel guilty for doing anything other than being a mother.
Absolutely.
And when I made the decision to start working internationally, which involved travel, and I've got the best husband in the world because he's like, yes, go. It's your dream. Yeah. Your business. I became a better mom.
Absolutely. Because you're filling your cup every day.
I was. Yeah. There was always this piece of me that I felt like was missing.
Absolutely.
And when that got filled, and even my family will tell you, I'm a much happier person now.
Absolutely.
Because I have completed, like you said, I have filled that cup. Yeah. But I do find it interesting that people think that if you're doing anything other than your job, you're not successful at your job.
And it's really sad. And look, I get that. And I think there are agents like my managing director, and he is a gun agent, all respect to him. I love him to death. And I think there is actually no time to do anything else. Yeah. I think I'm in a very fortunate situation where I can sacrifice a bit of my real estate, as in going hard at it and doing something as a hobby. I would love to have kids one day and get married and have kids. I'm not there yet. But I think I also have to readjust my life when I do have newborns and have children and grow from that. But it's also something nice before you get to that next stage of life with those that want to do it, that I can do something from scratch and achieve it.
Because you've already done it.
Correct. And so when it comes to becoming a mother, yes, I've got to sacrifice completely. It's not sacrifice. It's a beautiful, you choose to take that role. And I think I would love it. But then also it gets to a point where you're like, I'm giving up too much. I can also pick up something to fill my cup. And you know how to, you know the ins and outs of it, And so I always tell my friends, do that one thing. If it's painting a picture every day or like once a week, go paint a picture once a week. Because at the end of the day, I think, like I said, in women, we give out a lot. And we when we do become mothers and wives and everything, we do give a lot. And we just got to, we have, but anyone, men as well, we got to refill our cup every day. And I was telling a very good friend of mine, and he's going through a hard time in life. And I said, I think a lot of people don't, and I actually in age learnt this about filling your cup. And I think that in life, and plus we live in such a fast-paced life, we lose track of reality. But then reality is so warped now. Like we don't actually know what reality is, right? So I was telling somebody, you got to look at your fundamentals of life, what you want as your set fundamentals, how you want to live. And then you fill that cup every day.
And create your life.
Correct.
In the US, and tell me, it may be the same in Australia, right? We are so work driven.
Yes.
We are so about, you have to have this house and this car. Your kids go to this school.
Yeah.
And you have these things that we work. And I will tell you, when I started working internationally, it changed my view.
Absolutely.
As frustrated as I get with the French. Love you guys. You frustrate the hell out of me. I get it.
Yeah.
Right? Because they are doing that. And that's why, they're happier in general.
Yeah.
Because they're not so damn fast paced,
Well, they say the happiest people on the earth are the third world country people, right? Because they're, and I love the simplicity of life. It is so refreshing and it's so, inspiring.
And there's so much gratitude.
Oh,
so Santiago, who I interviewed a couple of weeks ago in Paris, he talks about when he went to India.
Yes.
And how it really shaped his perspective
Absolutely.
of the world. Because he said, you had these people who lived in these really terrible conditions who were incredibly happy.
Yeah.
They loved life.
Yes.
And it's...
And it's actually funny because people are like, oh, you got to be grateful every day for your life. But when you're living in a rat race and you're living in this bubble, it's very hard to get yourself out of it and how to be yourself. Like, what is myself? Who am I again? And I had to learn all that. And it was actually really hard because you're built to go in a certain direction. Like, oh, you're a DJ. Oh, you're going to be doing this. No, I'm not. Oh, you're a real estate agent. So you're going to have, these car next. No, I don't really want to. And they look down and you're like, oh, the car that you drive. And I said, it gets me to A to B. I can park. What's the issue?
Well, we talked about this earlier.
Correct, yeah.
Like this top producing agent who drives a Toyota.
Yeah.
But it gets him where he needs to go.
Absolutely. It's hybrid. It's good for the environment and everything.
But there was a client.
Who picked up on that.
And was like, is business okay? Because he's driving this car.
Yeah.
Which again, I think speaks to this whole thing. Of
Absolutely.
You have to do all of these things to be considered successful. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And
I really, and it's, I think it was who I was speaking to yesterday about humans are humans. At the end of the day, we just want, the Uber driver, that's right. I was like, hold on, I was speaking to someone yesterday.
Some of my best conversations
is Uber drivers. With Uber drivers. And he was talking about the growth of Vegas. He lived in Vegas for 20-something, near 30 years. And I said, why were you here? Because my dad was in the army and they had a base, they have a base out here. And I was like, oh, wow. So I actually said to him, I was like, he's like, oh, you see all walks of life here. And I said, oh, absolutely.
We've seen that, yes.
I said, the people watching Vegas, there's nowhere in the world you could watch people as much as you can watch in Vegas. So I said to him, it's really interesting because what I've learned in my life is that humans are humans. They just want respect, love, and just decent ethics, values. People of value, right? And you could be the most horrible person. You could be a really bad person, but what you want from people to treat you is respect, love, care,
basic human needs.
Basic human needs. So I said, you know, what I've learned over my years working in luxury real estate, being DJing, growing up in a certain part of Sydney, is that, you know, you could grow and add all these add-ons to life, you know what I mean? But when that gets all stripped away, you sit naked and you have a cry of life going, why doesn't anyone love me? And why is happening? You're like, no, but the basic fundamentals of life are these core couple of things only. And if you fill your cup every day with those couple of things only, you actually live your best life.
That's right. And the rest is just
the add-ons.
The cake, right? It's just a little extra, you know, sweetness to life, as it were.
And that's all I was saying to a lot of people, what I've learned, you know, that brings you, so having these, you know, building on these basic core values. I got brought up in a very Christian home where there's like values and like systems. And I really hold on to them because then basically build you for the person that you become.
Absolutely.
And I love that because anyone can throw any shade at me. You wouldn't bother me about it because I said at the end of the day, when you're up, you know, belly up, you're going to come to me and I'll be still showing you love and respect, and you would rather me than the person next to you that was your best mate at that moment. But when all things go to bad,
they leave you.
Correct. So I said, at the end of the day, you can treat me as bad as you want, but at the end of the day, you will still come to me. You know, and so I've learned that, and that made me a better person. That made me a better businesswoman. That made me a better friend. That makes me a better, you know, in general, a better daughter, a better everything. Right. Because I said, you just like build on your core values. And that just becomes, you become a better person and you live a happier person.
Well, and that's why we just love you. See, when I met her, she's a cool chick.
No,
I mean, it just is. No, I'm not being serious. It's like, I also think that, you know, what do they say? Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
I do think that
it's so true.
Because now growing up, I was a handful.
Yeah.
But I, you know.
Not at all. Really? You?
Me?
No.
But it was all about me.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until my daughter almost died the first time that I did have kind of a come to Jesus about what was important in this world. And I started treating people better. But the best part of the change was I started attracting people like you and like Brandy and like all of these people who are just the salt of the earth good people.
Yeah.
And I wish that we could all learn that if we could get our mindset right, we could really, truly affect the entire world.
Oh, absolutely.
The world is so angry about everything right now.
And it's unnecessary. Like, you shouldn't be angry at it. You know,
it's not going to change anything.
No, and I think I learned that, and I think it's really interesting because, you know, when I hit 30, you literally have a mid-age crisis.
No, you call me when you're 40.
Okay, I will.
It's a whole different thing.
No, but on 30, everyone has a meltdown. Like, literally all my friends have had meltdowns.
I left my first husband on my 30th birthday.
That's what I was like.
It's a weird,
Yeah, you literally hit 30, you have your party. Yeah. That week later, your world falls apart. Yeah. So my world fell apart, like everyone else's. That's how I got anxiety and all that other jazz that I never thought I had. And all of a sudden you start looking inside yourself and you're like, oh my God, I'm so crap. And what's going on with my life? Like, where am I headed? And and I love the 30 age because you see someone hit 30 and you're like, oh, welcome. And it just goes downhill and they're like,
no. 40. I'm telling you.
Really?
I feel
but 40 apparently is like the new thing.
No, listen. I mean, I get that I'm in this decade, so that's why I love it. I loved my 30s because I felt like I started to understand who I was.
Correct.
As a person.
I love that. Yes.
But it wasn't until I got to my 40s that I took what I learned.
Yes, and put it into practice.
Yes. And I truly, like, even coming to this event, somebody made a comment like, oh, well, you know, what if so-and-so thinks, oh, there's Jill at that event? I said, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm here to see my friends.
Yeah,
but what you think about
I'm so glad you came. You're like, hey, what do you think? We were just texting like, oh, when do you want to do this podcast? And I'm like, yeah, whenever you're ready. You're like, why don't I just fly to Vegas? I'm like, what?
I mean, literally just like that because, again, that's filling my cup.
Yes,
I need to see my friends other than on the phone or...
Yeah, and this is only 2 hours. You actually see all your friends in one place.
I mean, it's been pretty spectacular.
Yeah,
I've seen my Italian friends, my French friends, my Australian friends. Let's see who else.
Well, different parts of America, sorry. Like, you don't get to see you.
Yeah, it's a little easier, obviously, to see my American friends, but it's also true. Yeah. So my friends will tell you in the States that the best way to see me is to leave Austin.
Yes.
Because it's like when my people are right there, I never see them.
Yes, absolutely.
I want to make an effort. But no, I mean, I was glad that I did this, but there were people who were concerned about what other people would think because
Absolutely.
I came here because it's, just so you guys know, it's a conference for the brokerage I used to work for,
Yes.
but it's their global conference.
Yes.
And so I just was at that moment, I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
You know, these are
And it's actually funny because then I'm like approaching mid-30s now. And it's a hard road. The early 30s is a hard road because you literally, it's not easy. And everyone's like, no. I said, no, you don't understand because it's a journey of self-discovery.
It is.
And it's hard because you actually look into yourself and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many flaws. And you're like, but flaws are good because you get a chance to fix them. And you're like, but no, I've got flaws. Like, you know, in your 20s, you think you're top of the world. You think everyone's praising you like you're like God's
you're
sand.
the best in anything you
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
And you know what? The world's your oyster. Go for it.
Yeah.
You get to your 30s, everyone starts putting pressure, you know? And you're like, wow, there is holes everywhere. And tapping the holes means diving deeper to trauma, to everything. And you're just like, I actually have problems. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's actually interesting. And that's what I was talking to a friend about. Is that, you know, what I've learned is how to fill my cup, how to look into core values that's holding me down.
Yeah.
You know, what's holding my feet to the ground, you know? And I think that's so important, not to be lifted by the wind a little, you know, and have this disparity between the ground and you and your feet, right? And so, and then now I'm like, oh, this is feeling a bit more comfortable now. So I'm excited. When you hit the 40s,
Telling you, girl.
You know what I mean?
It's gonna rock your So you said something about meditating, and I started meditating in August. I went to a birthday weekend.
Yes.
In Rancho La Puerta, which is in Mexico, Baja,
Okay.
across the border. And they did a lot of yoga and meditation, and that was my first time really meditating.
Yeah.
And you talk about changing your world. I will tell you that I think some of where I'm at now is because of meditation.
Yeah.
Is that kind of like, have you always meditated?
Yeah. So growing up in a nice Christian home, I think prayer and meditation has always been part of life.
Yes.
So it's very much integrated into my everyday life.
Right.
It's not like something that that thing, you know. It's been like you wake up in the morning and that's what you do.
Right.
You know, you go to sleep, that's what you do.
Right.
And so for me, it's always been part of my life as a chore. But as you grow older and you find yourself and where you want to be as a person, who you want to be and what type of example you want to be, I took it upon myself to do my prayer meditation for me, right? And I think that's changed more because it's more of a personal walk and journey than it is a collective. Yeah. And it's created like a safe haven for me where I go and sit in it and have me time. Yeah. I think me time is really important. As you grow older, before you're like me time. Now I'm like, I love me time. And when I meditate and I pray, I think that's me time. And that's just recalibrating my whole self of what everything has happened in a day. And let's bring it back into the center so I can be myself tomorrow with a full cup.
No, I think that's incredible. And as much as I love to talk to you, so our battery died.
Yes.
We had to charge up for a minute and come back to finish.
Well, I could talk to a tree, and I think by the end of it, the tree will be talking to me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And telling you the whole life story.
Yeah.
So tell people how they can follow you because they want to follow your music and your real estate adventures.
Yes.
That's what you do.
So you can follow me on Soundcloud. I think we'll put it in.
We'll put it in there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming all the way to Vegas.
Literally came for her.
Yeah,
I keep telling all my other
just
friends
me.
that. I'm like, I probably should quit saying that because they're going to get mad.
I know, but I flew all the way. So I'm a special guest.
I came all the way from Texas.
But we could talk for hours, but thank you. Thank you so much for having me on this podcast. And I know this is going to do really well. Just hearing people's life stories is just fascinating. And I think it's going to be really successful.
Thank you.
And all the best in all your ventures in life.
I just love you.
No, me too. I love this love.
Okay, now let's go party some more.
Yeah, absolutely.